Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. Scott and Lisa Mellon want to thank you for making their big spring clearance sale a success. But if you weren't able to make it out last week, well, you can still get great items for your home at great prices. Pool tables, foosball tables, table tennis. Let's just run through the tables. Card tables, meaning poker tables, air hockey tables, they got that. It's a great place for tables. It's also a great place for home theater seats. Great place for bar stools, kitchen stools, bars, actually. They got it all. Games and Things, because life should be fun. Okay, I want to remind you of the poll. Let's go ahead and put this up here. Where is it? Woo, it's up to 70% now. Wow. Need to be better in the bigger SEC. That is, I'm a little surprised by that. Only 30% have a somewhat positive look. Things are getting better or baby steps, but progress. 70% of you say, nope, need to get better. Okay. Here we go. We're going to do this as a wraparound. We'll start with Chuck and we'll go to Bob. And I want to know the most underrated position group for Tennessee going into the fall. We get answer and a sentence to explain. Then we'll come back around and do overrated that way. So, Chuck, most underrated position group.
I'm going to go with the secondary, and the reason I am, you've lost so many veteran players, and you have so many new players, inexperienced. You don't have anything to base expectations on. To me, they have to be underrated until they show what they can do.
Underrated, okay.
Linebackers. I think that you have guys that we've seen take quality snaps, maybe not T-Lander and those guys, Arion Carter. I don't know if we've seen them take over games, but we've seen them be really solid in the limited action they have, and Keenan Pili's back.
I was going to go linebackers too, and the reason it's for those reasons, but also it's a less important part of the defense now. Everybody plays with two linebackers these days. It's not like the old days of 3 or 4 linebackers. Most teams have 2. You've got an extra safety guy who plays kind of like a linebacker. So I think the most underrated is linebacker because I'm just not really that worried about it. All right. What do you think, Ryan?
My answer was going to be linebacker. I think they've got a good number of options there. The fact that you've got Caleb Perry, a guy that's played a decent amount of football as a number 4, that's a pretty good situation. And you got a talented freshman in Edwin Spillman that I think people are going to see a lot this year. He is a hard hitter that is kind of picked things up pretty quickly. So I think they've got a pretty good group of linebackers, even after losing Elijah Herring.
Bob?
I've been sitting there trying to think of a different answer because I was going to say linebacker. Everybody else said linebacker, and I really can't come up with anything, but I think linebacker is probably going to be it.
And I think it helps that you just don't need as many as you would have.
And your leading tackle, middle linebacker, leaves, but it didn't really seem like it was a huge deal just because you've got so much talent.
We may revisit this during the season and rue this talk.
We've seen Keenan Pili play a half game. We do get to see him play more.
Was it even a half game?
Okay. Let's go the other way. Most overrated. This will be fun. This is the one that you can send us angry emails about and text. Bob,
I'm
most
gonna
overrated
go with
position.
Chuck's underrated because defensive backs, how do you rate them is my question. That's kind of what Chuck was saying. You haven't seen any of these guys play, and I know people, they're going to be fine. They were great. No, you haven't seen any of them play. Nobody knows what they're going to be. So I think they're overrated until I see anything.
That is a perfect breakdown of our show. Glass half full, glass half empty, same topic. Very good. All right, Ryan, most overrated.
I struggled with this one because I think there are only a few position groups people think are really good on this team. But so this is nitpicking, but I'm going to say the defensive line, just because the expectations seem sky high to me, and I don't know that this group is that good. So I'm going to say this is a very good.
Best in the country?
It's a very good defensive line, top 15, top 10 in the country maybe. But is it number 1 or even top 5? I wouldn't go that far. No. So I think it's James Pierce and then a lot of good players. So it's a good defensive line, but maybe not as good as it's been hyped to be.
That's a good one. I'm going to go quarterback. I think Nico's going to be good. I think your offense is going to be better. But I also think Nico is, for all intents and purposes, a freshman. He played 1 game last year. He's never started a game in Neyland Stadium. He's never started a true road game. He's never started a conference game. I just think that when you look at it, the first half of the season, there's going to be a learning curve there. I'd be amazed if there's not. And if there's not, we'll be cheering him on. But here on the show, praising him, I should say. But Oklahoma, NC State, first rivalry game with Florida, who's not supposed to be good, but they always play you tough. I just think there's question marks there, at least early. And also, you're a sprained ankle away from, I don't know, who's your backup? So I got quarterback as a little overrated because everybody right now is just like, we're going to be great with Nico. Eventually, yes. Off the bat, we'll see. Will, what's overrated?
Wide receivers.
Well, we're going all over.
We are. I like Chris Brazel, what I've seen him do in limited action in Tulane, right? That we saw a couple games, but Brew McCoy is coming back from a catastrophic injury, and he's never been a 10-catch-a-game guy, right? Just Squirrel White has never lived up to the potential and really the name of value that I think a lot of the fan base has kind of held him up for. So I just don't know. Chaz Nimrod's fine. Look,
Did you say Dante Thornton?
I want to see him do anything
that's
at
another
all
one.
first.
Yeah, okay.
That's the thing. Look, none of these guys kept Ramel Keaton off the field. And if you can't keep Ramel Keaton off the field, I'm not trying to just dunk on Ramel Keaton, but you
just did.
But I'm dunking on Ramel Keaton. You couldn't keep Ramel Keaton off the field. Why would I think you're all SEC caliber players?
Yeah. Don't feel bad. I could have spent this whole show dunking on Joe Milton.
I just wish I could dunk.
Yeah, that's true. Dunking on probably not the right term.
9 foot goal, maybe?
Dissing is the right term.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got one that you're going to tell me, Chuck, you're crazy. Running backs. And I'll tell you why.
Yep.
But I think you've got talent with your number one guy, but it was a 3-player rotation last year. Josh Heupel's offense, for all of the talk, is built about spreading you out and running it between the tackles. I mean, and that's what they do. We've seen injuries already in there. I would say not only is that overrated, it's like this close to being a concern to me for the way he likes to play.
I think that's a really good one.
Thank you.
And amazingly. I think that's a really good one.
That was my second choice, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, there was discussion as to whether or not they should have gone after a running back in the portal,
Right.
which tells you a lot. And we're sitting there thinking, well, Cam Seldon, they supposedly will be back in September. That's like Cade Mays was supposed to be back in September.
Right.
Sometimes those things leak into October and then down the stretch.
Exactly.
And we really haven't seen Cam Seldon play. He fits the suit, but I don't know if he's going to be good.
Well,
I think that's a good one.
I'll go with one more concern, too, is Dylan Sampson, who I absolutely love. He ain't Jalen Wright between the tackles. So you have that concern, too.
Yeah, I mean, he had to play at Kentucky. I think I'll remember for his whole season that put that game away, right? But I agree with you there.
All right, when we come back, what positions must Heupel and crew start hitting on? We'll talk about that when we come back. Are there any of those surprises? Is it just the same ones that we look? If you're building an NFL team, you want these 5 positions. Is that what we're looking at? Is that what Heupel needs to hit on? Or is there something that, to build this program, he needs X? We'll discuss that next. Come on back.